Hey, what's up? Nico DPS here again, and today we got another awesome farming video for you guys. This time around, we're in Cemetery. We edited the tree a little bit, that way we could fit in some Expedition, mainly because I had a lot of Rusted Scarabs laying around. I had a bunch of Rewall currency, and I wanted to get some Expedition currency so I could use them. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it. Alright, so let's go over the map, the Scarabs, and the one sextant that I decided to include in this one. So first things first, why did we get into Cemetery? We chose Cemetery usually because in Path of Exile, when you're picking a map that you want to farm for a while, you got three main criteria. Okay, so your first one's a little bit subjective, but a good layout. So for me, I like large open layouts, not lots of doors and rooms and stuff like that. Cemetery is awesome for that. Secondly, you got a good div card, because assuming, let's say you kill all the same amount of monsters in every map no matter what, you'd rather do one that has a chance to drop a really good div card like Cemetery, which has Brothers Stash. It's worth 5 exalts. That's basically a chance to just drop 5 exalts on the ground for free, no extra work involved, unless you're investing in div scarabs, but we're not doing that. Lastly, you got a lot of natural monsters, which makes it a lot easier to sustain the maps and means a less trading later on, and also more returns if you just want to sell them. We way over sustained, so it's worth a lot of money if you're like, oh, Cemetery was fun, let's go try something else. You can sell them all off, or you can keep running them. All right, so next up we got our Scarabs. We're running Polished Legion once again. It just adds a Warhorde, I believe, to each army, and they're always worth a lot more than one chaos, if not exponentially more. I got multiple exalts throughout this farm through Warhordes. Easily worth it. Easily worth it. Next up, we're running Rusted Expedition. That's the other thing we were talking about here. I looked them up. I had them laying around, but I looked them up, and in bulk, they were still only like 1 chaos each. I had enough to sustain this farm for a little bit, so I went ahead and used the ones I had, but they're worth 1 chaos each. So dirt cheap. Let's see what they bring to the table, right? Next up, we're running Nico Scarab once again for that. Just those 2 points, you can get a ton of extra all-res movement speed and damage on the Atlas skill tree, as you'll see later. Easily worth it. You can run them on the map device if you want. I chose not to because likely you're not going to have enough to sustain this farm for very long doing that, and you're going to have to run the Scarab anyways, or take the points out. Up to you. And then lastly, we are running Harbinger. Really, I just had an open Scarab slot, and I was like, what do I want to put in it? Yeah, we can put in Elder for extra mobs, but I like Harbinger, so let's just throw it a Rusted Harbinger. They're like 1 or 2 chaos each, I believe. Super, super cheap, and really super valuable. Harbingers are just awesome. The more chance I have to get a King Harbinger and a chance at Exalted Charge, the better. So we threw it in there. Lastly, well, not lastly, but for the sextant, I chose to go with the 1 sextant here to keep it simple. And that 1 sextant was just the additional Legion counter. Overall, it's fairly cheap. It's, I believe, 8C or so, depending on the time of day, 7 to 8 chaos. It's not that expensive. When you stretch that out over 4 maps, you're looking at basically 2 chaos a map, right? And that's just a whole entire extra Legion encounter for 2 chaos. I'll take it every single time, especially with how they work with Sentinels, which we'll touch on in a little bit. Other than that, I would essentially what I would do is I would roll my other 3 sextants on the map device. I would just roll them. Sometimes you'll even get one, and you don't even have to use your compass, right? So I'd roll my other 3, see what I got, plop the Legion sextant on the map device, and then roll. So no other specific sections, just that one, and then just random extra mobs for the rest. All right, so up next, let's go over the Atlas passive tree. So nothing too much different from what we were running last time, just took a couple points out and fit in Expedition for the most part, right? So we're running the 3 Strongbox nodes, Twice Tempted, Tamper-Proof, and Secret Operations. We're running our Harbinger nodes. We're going for First Wave, Ominous Arrival, and Unspeakable Offensive. We are still running Shrines because Shrines are awesome. We mainly just get the 3 nodes that are easy to get to: Supplication, Drawn to Power, and Syncretism. I had to make sure I got that one right. We are blocking, this time around, we are blocking Breach because I'm not invested into Flash Breach up here, so it's not worth it. Just takes too much time, things of that nature. Still blocking Abyss. This time around, we are not blocking Expedition because we're running it, and also there's no point to block it. It just takes an extra point. Once again, with the blocking Harvest, just takes too much time. Not blocking Legion. We're blocking Ritual, too much time. Blight, too much time. Metamorph, just not worth it. Too rippy, too risky for a very little game. Other than that, really all the main change to the tree mainly was just taking out this wing of the Delirium node and going for these expedition nodes. Ancient Writings, Distinguished Demolitionist, and Buried Knowledge. There is another one all the way down here near the beginning, but it's mainly just increased. You go all this way just to have an increased chance for an expedition encounter and some artifacts, some extra artifact drop by monsters, which artifact drop by monsters is nice, but not worth the extra points in the tree if you ask me. You can grab it if you want and take some other stuff out though. We had a couple points left just laying around. 3 points. I couldn't really figure what to do with them, so I just went ahead and popped them in the middle here. That way we get some extra quantity and rarity. If you do like running Breach, you can just take those 3 points out and go into Flash Breach and not block Breach. That's really all there is to it. You'll have an extra skill point to use elsewhere. I will touch on the Nico node one more time. This is the reason we're running the Nico Sextant, called Pack with Energy. Lots of extra max all res, damage, and movement speed. Also, Valley of Darkness, if you aren't running a full Headhunter, you should not run this. It is not worth it. If you are running a Headhunter, though, it is absolutely worth it, and you get a lot more buffs. So run it if you have one. Don't run it if you don't. Other than that, nothing too much different. Got all of the Legion nodes. We got the good Eldritch Altar nodes, and we got the Sextants since we're rolling most of our own Sextants. Also, Singular Focus. You can choose to run this if you like to or not. It's just up to you. It's pretty subjective. I personally like Singular Focus. It just involves less trading down the road, and I think it's a little bit more consistent profit than not running it. But if you like finding a bunch of Conqueror maps or you have a different boss build or something like that, go for it. You don't have to run it. All right, with the map review and the Atlas passive tree review out of the way, we can get into the good stuff. The loot, the monies, how much we made per hour, how much we made per map, all that good stuff. So, flashbang warning, 3, 2, 1. Hate me down in the comments if you want. I'm sorry for the flashbang. All right, so just like last time, we got all of our bubblegum currency on the left and then everything else on the right. Most of this tab right here is encompassed in other raw currency, excluding Eldritch currency, essences, and the exalts themselves. I separated those out. I think scattering reports too. But most of this is accounted for here. So other raw currency was worth almost 15 exalts, and then the exalts themselves, we got 17.6 exalts. You can see down here we got 10, 7, and then 12 of these shards. That was a pretty good number, but honestly not surprising when you think pretty much most of what we are doing. Prince exalts, Harbinger drops a lot of exalt shards over time. You got Expedition and Legion just printing exalts like crazy. And then you got Sentinels doing the exact same thing. So just combined, you're going to see a crazy exalt number. Pretty awesome if you ask me. Look at this. Just raw currency alone with the exalts is worth about 56 chaos a map, almost 57. That's incredible. Not including everything else in this list. All right. Now we can just go ahead and start from the top. So we got our maps, 115 maps. That means we oversustained. Perfect. That's exactly why we're running Singular Focus. Mariketh, I did notice a lot of our splinters were not turning into emblems of Mariketh. This was actually a pretty low number. I think we only got, 4 emblems to drop, which over the course of 100 maps and a ton of Mariketh splinters. That's actually pretty low. This number, if it was more on par with what should have been dropping, this should be around 15 or 16. But you win some, you lose some, right? Take what you can get. Still, they're worth almost 8 exalts. Templar, we got 26 of, pretty good stuff, 3.5 exalts worth of that. Vols, we got a little over an exalt worth of Vols at almost 25 of them. And then Karui and Eternal combined, they were worth about 250 chaos. Yeah, they're not worth a lot, but you get enough of them, you can account for them, right? Next up is stack decks, another huge number here. We got 810 stack decks. That is, I am not lying here. This is exactly how many dropped. You can see that extra 10 right down there. These are columns of 10, right? We got 810 stack decks. And I was thinking, wow, that is an insane number. But when I was also thinking about it, kind of how we touched on exalts, Legion, Expedition, and Sentinel all drop stack decks like crazy. Sentinel reward for divination is very common, and Legion and Expedition just drop them like candy as well. So although this is a surprisingly high number at first sight, once you think about it, I mean, it's pretty good, but it's should be what is expected, right? Compasses, we got 12 compasses that we're selling. We're running our own sextants. We're rolling our own sextants. So anything that is good, we put on a compass and we sell it. Notably, that I remember we got 3 Beyond, 1 Conqueror map, and like 2 or 3 Alvas. And the rest I can't remember. But total, we got about 3.5 exalts worth of compasses. Pretty sweet. Rogue markers, we got mostly from Tujin. They're worth about 50 chaos, not too bad. Influence maps, we got 3 of those. We got 1 Elder and 2 Conqueror. Once you average it out, they're worth about 25 C each. Other div cards, we just got a bunch of random div cards that were worth about 290 chaos. Actually more than that, but I take out all of the voids and other random stuff that isn't worth selling by themselves until you get like a full set and turn it in or something like that. Next up, we got recombinators. So recombinators are insane. They're going even higher in price right now. The jewelry and armor ones are at 20 C each right now. And we got 24 jewelry, 13 armor, and 20 weapon. So when you take all of those and you combine them, you got 860 chaos or almost 5 exalts worth of recombinators. And they sold basically instantly at these prices that are posted here. That is a pretty good number to see if you ask me. Up next, we got the power cores. We got amplifying, transforming, and augmenting shown up in this line item list right here. I don't include regular power cores because they're not worth selling at this point in the league. Everybody has a ton of them and nobody wants to buy them there unless you sell them for absolutely dirt cheap prices. It's not even worth accounting for. So I took them out. Fossils, we got about 60 chaos and random fossils that were actually worth selling. I just went ahead and put the rest away into my tab that were like dirt cheap, less than a chaos each and things of that nature. I left them out. All right, so scarabs, we actually got a pretty good scarab number here, 409 chaos and scarabs. If we scroll down, you can kind of take a peek here and see we got some pretty good ones. I think that right there is a reliquary. We got 2 gilded divination, 1 gilded reliquary, and then we got 2 gilded legion, 2 gilded breach, 3 gilded abyss and blight, and then 2 gilded expedition as well. So all of these scarabs combined with about 409 chaos when you include the rusted and polished that were worth selling at least. Pretty good number. Simulacrums I'd like to touch on as well. We got very few deliriums over this course of this 100 maps, and as well as this is a more accurate number when it comes to splinters you're going to be expecting per map, maybe even a bit low for some reason. Tropical Island is just insane. You're looking at like 3 to 4 times the splinters on average of most other maps what they're going to get you, which is nuts. And you combined a normal map with a very low delirium encounter spawn rate and you get this, right? So a little unlucky here, but that's all right. Deli orbs, we at least got some good deli orbs out of it. We got 210 chaos in deli orbs. Notably, really, you're looking at the diviners, fine, and harbinger that sell for more on average, and then the rest depending on if you sell in bulk or anywhere from like 10 to 15 chaos. I just added them as 10 chaos and left it at that. Invitations, we got 4 screaming and 3 writhing. That's just where I was at in my rotation, so that's why the numbers are slightly different. Other invitation, you can see here, I think that's twisted, formed, and elder slayer, worth about 85 C in total. Logbooks, we actually got a decent chunk of logbooks, especially with 11 scythes. So 11 scythes, they're worth 40 C each. We got 2 suns at 80 C each, and 6 of the other stuff, they're worth about 20 C each. Eldritch currency, we're actually at the same exact amount as we were last video, which is pretty funny, 277 chaos. Essences, I only include deafenings after I upgrade them all, and then I put the rest away. I just price them at 2 chaos each for simplicity's sake, for the sake of the video, so 70 chaos there. Scouting reports, we've got 40 chaos in those. You can see them right down there, hiding in the corner. We went over our raw currencies, gems, jewels, and clusters, so really this is mainly just mostly gems and like 2 abyss jewels, right? We didn't really get any clusters that were worth anything, so I didn't include them. On the gems, though, we got a 2120 tornado shot, which I thought would be worth more, but apparently not. It was like 50 C. We got a 21 power charges, which is like 30 C or something like that, and then a 21 hatred through our gem leveling and our offhand, worth about 80 chaos there. It's 210 chaos there. So overall in items, you can see this massive number. This is the power of ROG gambling. Most of these items did not drop off the ground. Almost all of these were crafted through ROG. And we accounted for our time and our money spent doing the ROG stuff down here, but you can see this number is insane. 17.6 exalts in items. And I will say these are not overpriced. In fact, at the time of me recording this video, about half of these items have already sold in under a day. So I know my pricing is about where it should be. And this is a pretty accurate number. The rest of this will go eventually. And ROG is just insane. I think it's hugely undervalued how good ROG is. I think most people just don't know how to use him, but if you know how to use him, especially early league, he is insanely powerful. I was surprised to see this number this late in the league. I figured, I'm not going to make that much, but it's fun. Let's use some of our ROG currency and have some fun with it. And boy, did we make a lot of money from it. All right, getting close to the end here. We got our exotic coins. We got all of our expedition reroll currency, basically. So we got 128 exotic coins at 5C each, or a little over 3.5 exalts. 64 burial medallions at 8C each, or a little under 3 exalts. 214 astrogales at about 1.5 chaos each, or 320 chaos or so. Scrap metal, we got 94 of those, and they're only worth half a chaos each. Again, ROG super undervalued. In no world should astrogales be worth more than scrap metal, if you ask me, but that's how the economy works. And then last but not least, we actually accounted for the reroll currency that we use throughout the process, because otherwise we'd be doubling up, and that would not be an accurate number. So I used about 50 exotic coins, 50 scrap metals, and 5 burial medallions to get more of currency for each of those other ones there. So that takes the number down a little bit just to keep it nice and accurate. All right, so that's the itemized breakdown. Let's go into the map cost, time spent, and profit numbers real quick. So map cost, just like over there, maps are worth about 5C each. So 100 of those, 500 chaos. Polis Legion, 2 chaos each, 200 chaos. You know the drill. The other rusted scarabs in total worth about 1.5 chaos. So we got 150 there. Sextants, I noticed I was getting a little more unlucky on sextants this time around with rolling, so I bumped the number up to 2 sextants per map on average. So that's about 500 there. And then alchemy orbs, chisels, and ball orbs are all pretty dirt cheap overall. Then we're looking at a total investment number of 1,468 chaos, or about 14.68 chaos per map in total map cost, which is a pretty low number when you're looking at these numbers we're about to get into right down here. But first things first, we got to go over our time spent. So the setup was pretty good there. This time around, I got pretty lucky. Most of the trades went pretty quick. And then I just added the gambling time, which is about an hour and a half worth of ROG and Tujen gambling, just hanging out, not really min-maxing it too hard. So all in all, about 2 hours with the setup and gamble time, and then our run time was about 8. I actually rounded this number up a little bit. It took me about 7 hours in total to run most of these maps, but figured this nice little 10 number right there, nice and even number, a more accurate number for a lot of people maybe running a slower build, and that also gives us 10 maps per hour from our 100 maps, right? All right, so let's go into profits. So we don't really have to worry about gross profits. We went over that already, and you can see them everywhere. Net profits. So net profit in total, we're looking at 108.5 exalted orbs. Net profit in 100 maps. That is insane. That's over an exalt net profit every single map, which is crazy when you're taking into account the fact that we are putting in under 15 chaos into this map. We're extracting over an exalt worth of value per map. That is insane. I don't think it gets much better than this. Net profit per map, you're looking at, as we just pointed out here, over an exalt per map. We're 190 chaos. That is incredible. Per hour, you just multiply all those by 100 and you get these numbers right here. So that exalts per hour, net exalts per hour is 10.85 net exalts per hour, which is awesome. That is an incredible number considering what we're putting into this. And as you can see here, the ROI, the big number right there, I didn't think it was going to get too much better than the last video I did with like 955% ROI, and this one blew it out of the water. And maybe I'll be proven wrong once again, but I don't think it gets too much better than this, but you never know. We'll see. However, I think this is the exact strat I'm going to be running as soon as my build can get up into T16s and start handling some beefier monsters, because this just prints so much raw currency, and through ROG you can create a lot of good items. Like you can just churn through good items from ROG early league and just make a killing off of it. So I think this is the strat we're going with next league, but we'll see. Maybe my mind changes. So that about does it with the currency review from our 100 maps. This about closes out the video. Once again, if you like the content, please comment down below. Let me know what you think. If you try out this strat, let me know how it goes for you. And if you got the time, drop a like, maybe a subscribe if you want to see more content in the future. I'm going to be making videos pretty frequently, especially as the new league comes up. So stay tuned. Keep coming by. Say hi. There's my Twitch stream down here. Here's a link to my YouTube, and then also my POB in case you were curious about my POB, as well as the Atlas tree we used in this video. So that about does it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.